Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us here in the chat. This is the Crypto Flight Edition. Your fellow competitor speaking on another video for Dogecoin. Quick update for the long-term investors. Looks like things have not changed much, but there's something that I've found in the chart that is, I won't say alarming, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And that's what we're going to explore in this video. Take a look at the weekly candles, perhaps get into the weekly RSI as well. So let's get into that information, guys. So welcome back, loyal family. If you're new here, we only explore price action. Thanks for sticking around. I'm loyal subscriber. Let's go ahead and dive right into the charts here. Sure. So today's March the 8th, 2023, and the current price of Dogecoin, 7 cents, slightly positive 0.5% for the day. Sure. All right, guys, hopefully you are doing well. Let's go ahead and get into this chart here. All right, so as you can see on a previous post, I think it was about 2 months ago, here's a post where we made a video on Dogecoin for the long-term investors only. Right now, unfortunately, I do not have any information for the short-term participants, but for the long-term participants, the range is still the same. Now, the one thing that I said that I think is worth mentioning is I think we made the video post on this weekly candle here at about December the 5th. Now, from that point, we were waiting for Dogecoin to come, somewhere within this range. And of course, the market had a relatively decent bounce out of the range. And right now it's back within the range. Now, I'm explaining that because remember, guys, when we explore the charts, it's always a continuation of the story. And the continuation of this story is since our last post, the market has come down to retrace within the range. And it moved out of this range. But unfortunately, it made a lower high, which these three circles represent. Remember, Dogecoin has been having trouble making new highs ever since it reached the 74-cent level, this extreme explosion here back in May 2021. It has, unfortunately, for the long-term investors, it has been walking down the stairs. That cannot be argued, okay? As clear as crystal on the chart here, okay? But one thing that, again, it's just a story that we're exploring. So in order to truly understand the story, or at least to understand the turnaround, because a lot of people, myself as well, I'm not a long-term investor in Dogecoin, by the way, total transparency. I am not invested in Dogecoin. This is just an update for the long-term investors, okay? But again, when you're looking at any chart, in this case, it's Dogecoin, we're looking for a turnaround because it's been going down and making lower lows, and lower highs ever since reaching 74 cents, right? We just verified that. Now we're looking for that turnaround. The previous level of resistance can be identified here in about August 2020, and that represents this level here at about 0.0792. So since the market actually found some buyers, whether these are going to be long-term buyers or not, we found a range in between 0.0554 up to 0.0792, okay? And this range, there are some buyers within this range, which is why we're referring to it as a range of interest. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the buyers who are within this range will actually be able to turn things around. Because again, the only way to determine this is because the market consolidated within this range, yes, and then it broke out to the upside, and it broke above the previous level of resistance. Again, 0.079. We go over this a lot, but I'm going to continue to go over this, guys. I know you guys get it, but for the newcomers or those who just not with me just yet, in order to truly determine a turnaround, once the market breaks above the previous level of resistance, whether it's going to be on the daily candles, or I prefer the weekly candles, okay? When it breaks above the previous level of resistance, to truly turn things around, it must use the previous level of resistance as support and show the market that it's time to turn things around and make a new high, higher than the previous high, okay? Which is here, all right? Hopefully that makes sense, guys. I think you guys are with me, but I have to always explain that because this is price action, and the only thing we look for on this channel is so simple. Many people challenge it, but we're looking for the same thing. Higher highs, higher lows for an uptrend. Lower lows, lower highs for a downtrend. And of course, to turn things around, we're looking for very specific gestures, which is really simple. Hold the previous resistance level as support to turn a downtrending or, a market that is continuing to make lower lows and lower highs to turn things back around and move higher. Okay, so hopefully that explanation is good. So that was just the alarm. I don't want to say alarming. That was just the one thing that I noticed about this story is that the market participants who are within this range are trying to make new highs by way of these three circles. But these three circles is evidence to me that so far they are failing. What does that mean? Well, it means that at some point, if they don't make a new high, then unfortunately this range will be discombobulated, and it's likely that we'll get weekly candles to close below 0.0554, the lower portion of this range of interest. Okay, and it's not guaranteed, but it's just my speculative observation. Let's let the time and price determine what happens next. Okay, but it's clear as crystal. I can't make that up. Okay, this is 3 consecutive lower highs. Okay, so it looks like the trend is going to attempt, okay, to push the markets lower, but this range determines that. Okay, it's still a good range for the long-term investors. If you've decided how much you're going to inject in this market, I'd say at least 5 to 10, up to 10% of your total position that you've determined should be within this range on negative days only. Okay, typically that's how I invest in the markets, is I buy into the markets on negative days near support levels. Okay, let's get into the RSI to see if we can get a little bit educational, so to speak, to determine what I'm seeing in the RSI. So all right, let's just get in here, wrap things up. All right, thank you for your patience, guys. All right, so the same thing is true as when I'm looking at an RSI, I'm also looking for higher highs and higher lows, and the RSI actually staying above the previous resistance level. To make sense of that, I'll actually put a horizontal line at 2 previous levels of resistance. Well, this level right here is a previous level of resistance on the weekly candles. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because the same is true, believe it or not. Some may challenge this, but it's a good way to train your eye and brain to look at the charts by always being practical, by looking at previous resistance turning into support and it holding as support, right? And of course, continuing higher. And this will give you an idea of what's truly going on, or at least give you some sort of idea of what has potential to take place in the market by way of looking or turning practical previous levels of resistances into support and understanding whether or not there's a true trend shift. Is that, if that makes sense? Okay. So again, very simply put, this RSI's previous resistance level, which is currently at approximately 41.77 on the weekly candles on the RSI, and the length is about 14. I got to be real technical. And the source is closed, by the way. This would also let us know that the market is mature and it is gearing up for a turnaround to move higher if the RSI stays above 41.77, as well as the current range of interest. The price action stays relatively within this range, and it doesn't close any weekly candles, preferably weekly candles, right, below 0.0554. That's all the information I have for you, wonderful folks. Let's give this price action another month, up to 2 months. If the weekly closing things out, guys, hear me out closely here, okay? Because there's really no update needed as long as the range of interest is holding, and we're having these, little small red candles. Hang on, let me just kind of get in here. This chart's getting pretty messy. I'll clean it up. As long as we have, you see these little small red candles, so far it shows that the sellers are running out of momentum in the short term. Can it accelerate as the market moves and the price action is developing and accelerate lower? It has potential to, okay? But I'm just giving you the true understanding behind price. I'm just reading the story, okay? And we should all do our best to have a basic understanding of the story behind price, because it's trying to tell us what's going on, right? It's up to us to read the story and understand it in the best way that we possibly can moving forward in order to make a financial decision, of course, in our sim accounts. Okay, so that's where we are. Give it another month. If the range is holding, everything is just fine, guys. It appears that the market is in preparation for a turnaround as long as this range, weekly candles, can hold, In the worst case scenario, at the lowest point, at the blue line, 0.0554. And that's how we're going to close it out, guys. So hopefully that information is good with the RSI. You guys learned as far as the turnaround and everything. So, yeah, I think we did well. So let's wrap it up. If you don't mind doing me a huge favor before you go, by simply leaving an appropriate thumb, I'd appreciate it on the video if you enjoyed the content. And leave a comment so that the YouTube algorithm can promote this video on the channel. Thank you for your continued support. If you guys are new, we also explore the traditional stocks from time to time. So you can kindly join us here on this interesting journey. And we'll send that out to you momentarily. Welcome in. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your time. Remember to always have a strategy before you enter the market. Keep that positive energy flowing. We'll talk soon. And bye for now, guys and gals, as I clean up my chart.